You know, you wake up some mornings feeling fresh. Clean. Like the world is a blank slate, full of possibility, completely unblemished by the grime of yesterday. Maybe you even ironed your shirt. Or you just got a new pair of shoes. That feeling? That brief, fleeting moment of absolute pristine perfection? Yeah, well, imagine that, but you're a phone charger. And you've just been pulled from your box. The air itself felt different then, crisp, almost clinical, tinged with that specific, faintly chemical scent of fresh electronics and virgin plastic. You know the smell. It's the scent of manufactured hope, really. A promise of seamless connectivity, of power delivered without question or interruption. I remember the smooth, cool embrace of the packaging, the satisfying tear of the perforated strip, a gentle tearing that felt less like destruction and more like an unveiling. There was no struggle, no frantic ripping, just a calm, almost reverent extraction. The user, a young woman, handled me with a tenderness that would soon become a forgotten luxury. Her fingers, soft and curious, traced my perfectly coiled length, appreciating the unblemished sheen of my white jacket, the gleaming tips of my connectors. I was a thing of beauty, truly. A minimalist marvel, designed for one singular, crucial purpose. I lay there, still slightly coiled, feeling the subtle tension of my internal copper veins, eager to carry their precious cargo. My USB-A end, a neat, rectangular block of polished metal, and my lightning connector, sleek and symmetrical, were flawless. Not a scratch, not a smudge. No dust bunnies clinging to the port, no telltale grime from 1,000 greasy fingers. I was an untouched canvas, a conductor of pure, unadulterated energy. Do you remember a time when you felt that pristine? That confident in your own purpose? When every fiber of your being was aligned, ready to perform its one job flawlessly? It's a rare moment, isn't it? For me, it was my birthright. The first interaction was, dare I say, almost romantic. The gentle alignment of my lightning end with the phone's port. A soft, reassuring click. Not a forced shove, not a frustrated jiggle, but a deliberate, precise insertion. The phone, a sleek, dark rectangle, hummed to life with a quiet sigh of relief. A tiny battery icon, almost empty, suddenly bloomed with a vibrant green lightning bolt, signaling the commencement of my sacred duty. That initial surge of power, a silent river of electrons flowing from the sterile wall socket, through my perfectly intact pathways, and into the eager maw of the device, it was exhilarating. A profound sense of accomplishment. The user watched, a small, satisfied smile playing on her lips, her thumb tracing the screen as the percentage ticked upwards. I was doing it. I was fulfilling my destiny. I was essential. For those first few days, maybe even a week, life was good. A veritable honeymoon. I was treated with respect, coiled neatly after each use, often placed delicately on the nightstand or draped carefully over the edge of a desk. Never left haphazardly on the floor to be trodden upon. Never subjected to the indignity of being crammed into a purse alongside loose change and forgotten crumbs. I was the golden child, the chosen one, the indispensable link in the digital chain. My purpose was clear, my function unimpeded. I was the silent guardian of connectivity, the lifeblood of communication. Without me, the user's world would grind to a halt. No social media scrolling, no late-night video binges, no urgent texts from friends. I held their entire digital existence in my perfectly smooth, unkinked hands, and I knew it. There was a quiet pride in that. A sense of being truly valued. Every time the charging icon appeared, every time the phone's screen lit up, every time the user picked up their device, fully powered and ready for another day of relentless data consumption, I felt a surge of quiet triumph. It was a symbiotic relationship, or so it seemed. I gave life, and in return, I was cared for. Handled with a certain, almost tender, reverence. The world outside my carefully maintained sphere felt chaotic, but here, in the quiet hum of electricity, there was order. There was purpose. There was me, perfectly intact, waiting patiently for my next call to duty. A fresh start. A clean slate. A promise. Oh, the promises we make to ourselves when we're new, aren't they? And the ones that are made to us. If only they could last. You know, life, it has a funny way of taking that pristine, untouched feeling and just wearing it down. You start out shiny, full of purpose, convinced you're essential. Like a brand new phone charger, really. Fresh from the box, that satisfying click of the plastic wrap, the clean, unblemished white, or black, if you're one of the rebels. You're important. You deliver power. You make things happen. And then, well, then you become useful. And that's where the trouble starts, isn't it? It began subtly, as most things do. The honeymoon phase, it doesn't last forever, not for anything truly functional. The careful coiling, the gentle placement on the bedside table, that brief, almost reverent handling? Gone. Replaced by a certain casualness. The first time you're just shoved into a drawer, not neatly coiled, but rather crumpled like an old receipt. You feel the internal wires protest, a tiny, almost imperceptible groan within your PVC skin. It's not pain, not yet. More like a mild discomfort, a stretch that wasn't quite intended. An indignity, perhaps. You were designed for elegant functionality, not for being crammed next to old receipts, a single loose earbud, and that tiny screwdriver set no one ever remembers they own. Then comes the floor. Oh, the floor. The great equalizer. One moment you're on a clean, elevated surface, a vital artery of the digital age. The next, you're a trip hazard. A dust magnet. A minor inconvenience to be stepped over, or worse, on. The first time it happens, you're still plugged into the wall, dutifully delivering those precious electrons, and the phone is just left dangling by your end, pulling you down. You hit the carpet with a soft thud, a barely audible sigh of resignation. Not the end of the world, no. But the beginning of something else. The fine dust motes adhere to your once spotless surface. A stray crumb from last night's snack nestles against your connector. You feel less important. More like an afterthought. And the coiling. It's not a careful, deliberate act anymore. It's a habit, a mindless flick of the wrist. Grab the phone, yank the cable. Coil it around your fingers, tight, almost aggressively. The gentle curves of your youth are replaced by sharp, angular bends. You feel the pressure, the distinct creaking of your outer sheath as it's forced into unnatural positions. The user, bless their impatient heart, doesn't even notice. They're already on to the next task, phone in pocket, you, the humble power conduit, merely a means to an end. You're tossed into a bag, tangled with keys that scratch your surface, coins that ding against your connectors. Each jostle, each minor impact, a tiny blow to your pristine self-image. The outlet, now that's a special kind of abuse. Remember the careful insertion? The satisfying click? Now, it's a yank. A sharp, sudden tug on your cable, not the plug itself. Why? Is it so hard to grasp the sturdy plastic head? Apparently. You feel the strain right where your wire meets the rigid plug housing. A microscopic tear, maybe. A slight loosening of the internal connections, the copper strands groaning under the sudden stress. It doesn't break you. Not yet. You're still strong. You're still functional. But you remember. You feel the subtle shift in your structure, the faint echo of that violent extraction. It's like a tiny, invisible scar. And the bends. Ah, the bends. The phone is charging, but the user is also using it. In bed. Lying on their side. Phone propped up against a pillow, and you, the cable, are bent at a 90-degree angle, maybe even sharper, right at the point where you enter the phone. The pressure is immense. You feel the delicate wires inside, the ones designed for a straight, unimpeded flow of power, being crushed, stretched, contorted. You're twisted and held, sometimes for hours, in a position no self-respecting cable was ever meant to endure. You can almost hear the tiny whispers of your copper strands, "Why? Why must we suffer like this?" But you don't break. You keep sending those electrons. You keep the digital heart beating. Because that's what you do. That's your purpose. Even if it means slowly, painstakingly, destroying yourself in the process. You start to notice the subtle changes in your own appearance. A faint discoloration where you're consistently bent. A slight softening of the protective coating. A tiny, almost invisible crease where the user's thumb habitually presses you against the edge of the phone. You're no longer sleek and unblemished. You're lived in. Like a pair of old shoes, or a well-worn t-shirt. Still perfectly serviceable, mind you. Still getting the job done. But the shine is gone. The illusion of immortality, shattered. You're just a thing now. An object. A tool. And tools, as we all know, are meant to be used. Until they break. The user, they haven't noticed, of course. To them, you're just the charger. The one that works. The one that's always there. They probably don't even see the faint marks, the subtle kinks, the way you don't quite lie flat anymore. You're just part of the background, part of the furniture of their digital life. And you continue to provide. You pump that power, hour after hour, day after day. You transmit that data, bytes flowing through your ever so slightly compromised internal architecture. You are a silent, suffering servant, performing your duty with a growing sense of existential dread. Because you know. You feel it. This is just the beginning. The gentle tangle. The first step on a long, winding road to inevitable obsolescence. And you wonder, do they even appreciate the effort? The slow, quiet sacrifice? Probably not. It's just a charger, after all. Right? So, you thought those gentle tangles, those casual shoves into a drawer, that little bit of floor dust were the peak of your misery, did you? You thought that was life at its most challenging, a subtle shift from pristine utility to mundane object? Oh, you sweet, naive little loop of copper and plastic. That was just the prologue. The light stretching before the real workout. Because now, you're not just an object. You're a tool. And tools, my friend, are used. And by used, I mean abused. The mornings start with a jolt. Not of electricity, though that will come, but of pure, unadulterated force. You're no longer carefully unplugged, no gentle hand gripping your textured head. No, now it's a yank. A sharp, sudden, violent tug on your delicate cable, straight from the wall socket. Thwack. The sound of the plug hitting the plaster, the brief, agonizing stretch of your internal wires, protesting, screaming in silent agony as they're ripped from their cozy connection. Does the user care? Of course not. They're already halfway out the door, phone in hand, battery at 60%, and a meeting they're late for. You're just a means to an end, a forgotten limb, discarded until the next desperate need for power arises. This isn't a gentle disconnect, it's an eviction. A daily, ritualistic exorcism from the comfort of the wall. And the charging itself? Oh, it's a performance now. No longer are you allowed the dignity of lying flat on a bedside table, gracefully delivering current. No. Now, you're a structural component, a temporary support beam for a device that demands constant attention. The phone is in use, always. Lying in bed, watching videos, scrolling through endless feeds, texting friends about something profoundly urgent. And where are you? You're bent. You're contorted. You're pressed against a thigh, squashed beneath a pillow, twisted at a 90-degree angle where your fragile head meets the phone's charging port. Can you feel that? That slow, insistent pressure, pushing your internal contacts against their limits, deforming your once smooth plastic casing into a permanent, angry curve? It's like trying to drink water through a garden hose that's been tied in a knot. The flow is there, technically, but it's fighting for its life. And the tight spaces. Oh, the tight spaces. You're not just coiled anymore, you're crammed. Shoved into an already overstuffed backpack, a purse overflowing with receipts and spare change, a jean pocket alongside keys that scratch at your once shiny exterior. You're tangled with earbuds, a stray pen, maybe a forgotten snack wrapper. Every sharp edge, every hard object, becomes a potential weapon, a tiny blade waiting to nick your protective sheath. You feel the crushing weight, the claustrophobia of being compressed, twisted, and knotted into shapes no cable was ever meant to endure. Your purpose is to conduct, to connect. Not to be a glorified piece of string art. But here you are, silently enduring, because what choice do you have? You're a charger. You serve. It starts subtly, a small crack. A hairline fracture in the pristine white or black plastic, right where your head meets your body, the most vulnerable point, the fulcrum of all this daily abuse. Then it peels. A tiny flap of rubber, like a loose bit of skin after a bad sunburn. You feel exposed. Vulnerable. And then, the wires. Oh, the wires. Those beautiful, intricate strands of copper, once so perfectly insulated, now peeking out, a flash of metallic orange or green, a testament to your slow, inevitable unraveling. You can practically hear the user's internal monologue, that's not good. Still works. Sometimes, they'll even apply the dreaded electrical tape. Not to help, mind you. Oh no. To mask. To create a sticky, ugly bandage that only makes you stiffer, more prone to breaking at the next weak point. It's like putting a band-aid on a gaping wound and expecting it to heal. And then come the accusations. The whispers, the muttering, the outright blaming. Why is this taking so long? It keeps disconnecting. This charger is useless, it charges so slow. Useless? You? After everything you've endured? The yanking, the bending, the crushing, the slow, agonizing fraying of your very being? You've been stretched to your limits, your internal integrity compromised by their own impatient, thoughtless actions, and you're the one who's useless? The irony is so thick you could power a small village with it. You flicker, you struggle, you try to maintain the connection, to push that precious current through your damaged veins, because it's your purpose. It's all you know. But with every accusation, with every frustrated sigh, you feel the cold, hard truth settling in, your days are numbered. They're already looking for a replacement, even as you fight to give them that last, precious percentage point of battery life. You're a dying star, still trying to shine, while the universe around you is already planning your funeral. And they won't even mourn. You know, sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror after a particularly rough week, and you see those new lines, that slight sag, that tired glint in your eyes. You think, man, I've seen better days. Well, imagine that, but instead of just lines, you've got exposed wiring, and instead of a slight sag, you're held together by a prayer and half a roll of electrical tape. That's where we are now. The honeymoon? Long gone. The gentle tangle? A quaint memory. We're past the point of subtle hints and polite suggestions. We're in the trenches, my friends, and the trenches are fraying. The once pristine white or sleek black insulation, remember that? It's not just discolored now. It's open. Like a wound that just won't heal. Right there, where the cable meets the lightning connector, or the USB-C, or whatever outdated standard you're clinging to, the plastic has finally given up. It's peeled back, a grim smile revealing the delicate, twisted guts beneath. Copper strands, some bright and defiant, others dulled by grime and oxidation, lie exposed. A few of them, the really stubborn ones, are actually broken. Snapped. Just hanging there, like forgotten promises. And yet, it still tries. It tries. The user, of course, has noticed. How could they not? But their solution wasn't empathy or careful handling. No, it was a quick wrap of that cheap black electrical tape, or sometimes, if they were feeling particularly resourceful, a bit of clear packing tape, wrapped so tightly it's practically strangling the remaining integrity of the cable. It's a bandage, sure, but a bandage on a gunshot wound. It doesn't fix anything, it just makes the dying process marginally less messy. For them, not for me. For me, it's just another layer of constriction, another thing to fight against as the current tries to push its way through. And the connection. Oh, the sweet, elusive connection. It's become a ritual, a delicate dance of desperation. You remember when you just plugged it in and it worked? Those were the days. Now, the user approaches with a certain weary resignation. They insert the connector, and nothing. The phone, that ever-hungry beast, remains stubbornly uncharged. No little lightning bolt. No percentage jump. Just the same old low battery icon, mocking them. So, the wiggling begins. A slight twist to the left. Nope. A gentle push downwards. Still nothing. A frantic jiggle, like trying to dislodge a stubborn piece of candy from a vending machine. And then, sometimes, for a glorious, fleeting moment, it connects. The phone beeps. The icon appears. A sigh of relief from the user. And from me? A tiny, internal surge of triumph, quickly followed by the dull ache of knowing it won't last. Because it never does. The phone will charge for a few minutes, maybe even 10, and then, without warning, the connection drops. The phone goes back to its hungry, uncharged state. The user, who just walked away to grab a snack, returns to find their digital lifeline still at 17%. And who gets the blame? Me, of course. This damn charger, they'll exclaim, as if I want to fail. As if I'm consciously deciding to withhold precious electrons. Do you think I enjoy being an unreliable mess? Do you think I revel in the frantic wiggles and the accusations? My entire existence is about delivering. It's my sole purpose. And now, I'm failing at the one thing I was born to do, not because I want to, but because I'm being slowly, systematically disassembled. The current itself feels different now. It's not the smooth, steady flow it once was. It's a stutter, a flicker, like a dying fluorescent bulb. Every time the phone connects, there's a brief, searing heat at the connection point, a tiny inferno of resistance as the remaining intact wires struggle to carry the load. It's exhausting. It's like trying to run a marathon with a collapsed lung, while someone keeps poking you with a stick and yelling, "Faster. Why aren't you faster?" And all the while, you know they're already looking at replacements. You see the search terms pop up on their screen: durable phone charger, fast charging cable, charger that actually works. Each search result is a nail in my increasingly unstable coffin. Sometimes, when I'm plugged in, barely holding on, and the user is scrolling through social media, they'll accidentally nudge the phone. Just a tiny bump. And that's it. Connection gone. They pick it up, sigh, and start the wiggle dance all over again. It's a Groundhog Day of digital frustration. And I'm stuck in it, a prisoner of my own deteriorating physical form, trying to serve a master who doesn't even notice the effort, only the failure. They don't see the heroic battle I'm waging against entropy, against the very laws of physics that govern frayed wires and shoddy tape jobs. They just see a phone that isn't charging fast enough. I've seen other cables in their natural habitat, the new ones, coiled neatly in their packaging, full of naive promise. They don't know what's coming. They don't know about the yanking, the twisting, the accidental foot traps, the desperate wiggling. They think life is all about delivering a clean, uninterrupted 5 volts. Bless their innocent little plastic hearts. Me? I'm just trying to make it through the next hour. To get the phone to 30% before the user gives up and tries a different outlet, or, worse, a different me. It's a fight for every percentage point, a silent, desperate plea to stay relevant, to prove I still have some life left, even if it's just a flickering, unreliable spark. This isn't just about charging a phone anymore. This is about defying the inevitable. For now,